Hey everyone, what is up? Nursky coming to you guys with more games from MLG Orlando. This is going to be one of the games that I actually casted live at Orlando that I'm doing a recast of since there's no VODs, so we'll just make VODs. Simple as that, right? So anyways, going to get into the introductions quick before I talk about anything else. First off, spawning as our Blue Zerg representing Team Liquid is going to be Haypro. And his opponent spawning as our Purple Terran, his teammate, TLO. So here we go, guys. MLG Shakira's Plateau is going to be the map. Looks like TLO going to actually be going for a low ground wall off this. Pretty typical of Terran players, so I'll have to wait and see what TLO does behind this. Could go 2 racks. Could do a lot of things really out of this low ground. Have seen Terran players do a lot of things here on Shakira's Plateau, so we'll just have to wait and see. But as I was saying earlier, talking about recasting a lot of these games, this is definitely one of my favorite games that I did cast live at Orlando. So I'm be very happy to bring this game to you guys via my YouTube. Get the VODs out there. Really have to send a big shout out to everybody in the community really who's been casting games from Orlando to really just get those games out there for the community to view, since not everybody got a chance to watch all the extra coverage that was on the beta streams. Plus you had to have the premium account. Not that it's actually too expensive for the amount of content that you get, but obviously not everybody had it. So now everybody's gotten a chance to see these games. May have even had another game that they were watching instead. Important note, TLO is going to be taking a gas after his barracks, so probably going to be getting a fast factory. Would still expect him to see an expansion. A lot of Terran players nowadays are going with either a just factory into starport play or reactor factory Hellions, and you get an expansion actually before you do any other teching behind that. So expecting something like that out of TLO, playing pretty standard right now, which is kind of an unusual thing to say about TLO. A lot of his openings can even sometimes be a little bit on the crazy side. Haypro going for the standard 15 pool into 15 hatch, no gas just yet. Would be typical to see him take a gas sometime around now, so we'll have to wait and see if he actually does do that. We'll get his scouting drone over here into the base of TLO. First Marine does pop out though. Gonna make it hard for him to get this scouting drone out of the base of TLO. Gonna try and get it out though if he can. Has spotted the gas though, which was one of the essential things. We'll know that factor will be on the way. Drone trying to get away down the 8 hit points. Might get out of here though. No, not going to quite get the drone out of there. Second Marine pops out, finishes off that drone. And now we are going to get another factory here out of TLO. So we'll be getting that, not another factory, his initial first factory here. So we'll be getting a fast factory play. Has pulled off of gas. We'll expect some kind of an expansion behind this. Does not have the gas for reactors, so not going to be going reactored Hellions early on. Just going to be going probably standard Hellions with some Marine support. So we'll have to see exactly what TLO is going to do, but we'll probably be getting a very fast expansion soon here. Does have the minerals for it. Would expect to see it go down, and yes, thank you TLO for not making me a liar. I appreciate it. Couple of links now out on the map for Haypro as his pool does finish up, getting his double queen right away. Going to be moving out onto the map, scouting around. Interestingly enough, taking a little bit later gas. I think he took that around 25 or 26 supply. So a little bit of delayed gas here for Haypro. So that will mean he does not have this metabolic boost upgrade for quite some time. TLO should be aware of that. Did have an SCV scout in pretty early on here. Now actually sending that SCV back in. Spinecrawler on the way for Haypro. Just playing very safe right now against TLO. Pretty smart idea actually, since TLO does tend to be pretty aggressive early on. We'll be scouting in here. We'll see that Haypro has taken a gas, so we'll realize about the time that metabolic boost could be up and the amount of time that he does have. Initial Hellion now out on the map, going to be frying up this lane. We'll give him map control at least temporarily. We have a couple of SCVs moving out here. Starport going down here for TLO. Actually going to be doing a double starport play here. Does have 2 gases over here in his main. Now that expansion is just about finished up here over in his natural. Trying to pick off another overlord, but it looks like Haypro will actually get that out of there. Pretty essential actually early on in the game to save these overlords. Does not want to lose these unnecessarily. Needs to keep them around for scouting information. Dangerously actually close to scouting those double starports here of TLO. Would expect Haypro to sacrifice some of these overlords in at some point here, and it looks like he actually is going to be doing that with this overlord on the edge. But actually this overlord not going to get a whole lot of information moving towards this. Now TLO does not have spotted this overlord just yet, so it could still potentially spot this double starport. Do see 2 tech labs going down, so this will be a 2 Banshee play here. by TLO. At the same time, looks like Haypro not getting the information he wants, to throwing down a Roach Warren and an Evolution Chamber. That Metabolic Boost is on the way, so it looks like he's playing pretty safe right now. Just going to be getting down the Evolution Chamber and the Roach Warren so that he can basically be safe from everything. We'll see that Barracks floating away, so we'll at least eliminate the possibility of any kind of an early bio push. Won't need a Baneling Nest anytime soon, but we'll have to worry about any kind of mass Hellion play or Banshee play here out of TLO, so getting up that Evolution Chamber and that Roach Warren will allow him to be safe from basically anything that TLO could potentially do at this point. Now, TLO is going to be going, interestingly enough, Raven and Banshee. So we're going to have to wait and see exactly what TLO is going to be doing here, but probably going to be making some kind of push. I'd assume he's getting the Raven for point defense drone to try and nullify any kind of spore crawlers that Haypro does place in reaction to the Banshees. Do have the scouting barracks. Kind of interesting to say, but it has become a little bit commonplace with Terran players when they don't need a building to just scout in with it. Since they do fly, we'll get a picture of what Haypro is up to. Haypro finally getting his lair started, so we won't have Mutatech up anytime soon to deal with these Banshees of TLO. Meanwhile, TLO has taken his gases over here at his natural, building up quite a decent amount of gas. Could build some more buildings or tech behind this, and it looks like he's going to actually be getting up a double factory behind this, so could be making a mech play here behind this Banshee pressure with this Raven. 2 more Banshees right now on the way for TLO, not pushing out just yet. Scouting barracks, getting a very good picture of everything that Haypro does have for defenses. Building a couple of roaches. Now it looks like Haypro's still a little bit unsure as to exactly what TLO is up to. We'll be able to see those couple of Hellions out on the map, and now actually these 3 Marines that TLO initially built will get trapped over here. Not going to actually be able to rebuild those. So right now this bunker is actually empty for TLO. Kind of important to note that his bunker is empty, since that bunker really can't help him with defense against these couple of roaches here from Haypro. Could be very bad right now if Haypro push, but we do see actually TLO moving out. I do believe that Haypro would have spotted that with that Overlord, and yes, he actually did, as we do see a lot of Spore Crawlers going down here. Did spot 3 Banshees. Not going to take any chances throwing down 3 Spore Crawlers in the main. We'll be throwing down at least 2 Spore Crawlers over here at the natural. Spire going down as well as a Hydralisk. Now with that Spire actually a little bit exposed. Now have TLO over here taking out some Creep Tumors. Wants to try and get some damage done. Should easily be able to pick off this single Queen. We'll be able to prevent any kind of creep spread. Actually might get the Spire, and this could be a huge loss here for Haypro. Needs to cancel this in time. Yes, will get the cancel off. Gets the minerals for flyback. PDD goes down. Does have another Spore Crawler on the way. PDD doing his job, preventing these Spore Crawlers from actually doing any damage to these Banshees. Do have that Queen attacking away, and now finally the PDD will wear out. That will force TLO to back up for now. Gonna pick off a couple of Creep Tumors on his way out the door, but needs to be careful. One Banshee getting extremely low, but we'll actually retain all those Banshees. And at the same time, we do have a counterattack over here at the natural TLO. No Marines in this bunker, playing out pretty huge here. Thor just now pops out. That will really help deal with these roaches. And we do have the Hellions should clean up those links fairly easily, getting a decent amount of kills though on these SCVs with these roaches, as this one Thor and these Hellions do try and get rid of these roaches. Here comes the Banshees back to help deal with this, and it will get cleaned up. Look at the workers killed. 7 workers killed here for Haypro, so getting a little bit of damage done here against TLO. Does have siege mode on the way. No Infernal Pre-Igniter just yet. Running right now off of 4 factory. Looks like he's going to be getting a reactor on one, so probably going to be getting that Infernal Pre-Igniter eventually. No tanks out just yet, just a couple of Thors. Probably a little bit afraid of Mutalisk, since he did see that Spire trying to go up from Haypro. Haypro does have another Spire just about to finish up, so it looks like Haypro really wants to try and stick with that Ling Muta style of build if he can. Not going to be able to do it just yet. A couple of Hydralisks were built to try and help defend against these Banshees, just in case TLO is going mass Banshee, but that's not going to be the case. Does manage to get this barracks down to the point it is on fire though, so should be able to take it out. Single drone over here really needs to actually get that doing something a little more useful. Moving this Spore Crawler out, so he does have detection forward just in case Cloak does get researched, but that's not going to be the case. So you do see right now no additional upgrades just yet. Double command center going down for TLO behind us, so TLO living up to his unorthodox styles of play very early on in this game. Does have a few Thors out already, a little bit supply blocked at the moment. Initial couple of Mutas now built here for Haypro. Going to be moving over here towards the base of TLO, trying to do some damage. One Thor is there to greet these Mutas, and that is probably going to force these Mutas to back off for now. Did get a SCV kill or 2 and did manage not to lose any of his Mutas, so at least he does have that going for him. Scouting Hellion, trying to move forward to get a little bit of information about what Haypro is doing. I do not believe he has scouted the 3rd just yet. No, we'll see that that 3rd is up. Do have a 4th up for Haypro as well. and Liquid TLO will scout that, so he will know that the double expansion is up for Haypro. Haypro really needing those expansions, as he really had a pretty delayed third early on in this game, as we do now finally have the Vernal Pre-Igniter started for TLO at one of these factories. Looks like it's over here at the Natural Factory. It looks like TLO is going to be moving out, wants to get his expansion third up, going to be moving both these command centers. Interestingly enough, here comes those Mutalisks, going to be doing a little bit of damage to his command center. Needs to get his forces over here. Here comes those Thors that should shoo away these Mutas for now. Not enough Mutas to deal with these Thors in any way, shape, or form. Need a lot of Mutalisks to deal with Thors. Very hard to deal with Thors with Mutalisk compositions. Haypro now moving out a lot of his Overlords. Wants to get very good spotting throughout the map. Going to be sending one over here towards the main. The spot what TLO is doing. We'll see the factories. We'll know that TLO is going mech behind this. And Infernal Pre-Igniter just about to finish up. Does have siege mode for his tanks to help defend his front. And right now, Haypro just building up a lot of drones. We look at the unit tab quickly. We can see 67 harvesters to the 60 of TLO. So Haypro does still have the worker lead. But right now, TLO not in a bad position at all. Even going to be getting yet another command center up. No orbital command just yet. Has built a planetary fortress over here at this third. So just going to be adding on some SCVs, lots of extra SCV production. Haypro now moving out on the map with a bunch of roaches and hydras. So looks like he wants to maybe try and contain and or get aggressive here at TLO. Now, obviously not going to be able to really fight into these siege tanks from TLO, as they basically just decimate roach hydra composition, especially without creep spread. Looks like Haypro is really thinking about moving forward, but we'll see that very hardened position of TLO would be a very bad idea for him to attack into this. Does have decent muta numbers. Looks like a little bit of everything here out of Haypro to try and deal with TLO. Now moving forward, scanning, trying to prevent the creep spread. Might actually lose some of these Hellions. Here comes the mutas. Actually doesn't lose hardly any at all. Manages to get back very quickly. Good reaction time there by TLO. Mutas moving around the map right now, looking for any kind of possible angle they can get in and do some damage to TLO's main. Do see now Engineering Bay has completed for TLO, putting up some missile turrets to try and defend when he does not have his army. And it looks like TLO actually thinking about moving out, trying to build some missile turrets over here in the middle of the map. Looks like he might want to try and go half map with Haypro, as that is a pretty decent strategy for Terran players. I've seen a lot of Terran players do that, just basically turtle up, try and go half map versus half map, and just make their army so much more cost efficient that essentially the Zerg player eventually mines out. But a huge run by over here might actually get into the natural. Looks like he will be able to bypass all the units of TLO. TLO was actually moving out at the time. Is going to force TLO to turn around. At the same time, Mutalisks coming in over here, getting a lot of damage done. Will easily pick off this one Thor that is defending in the main. Could pick off a lot of these add-ons. Could really hinder TLO in his build. See TLO now moving all of his forces back to try and defend this big push here by Haypro, as Haypro bypassing all the units. Very good run by. It's going to get a lot of the add-ons from all of TLO's units here. So TLO is going to have to rebuild a lot of these add-ons to continue building any units. We'll be able to clean up the rest of these forces. So he needs to be careful with these mutas. If he gets them too bunched up and any of the Thors walk up, could just instantly evaporate all these Mutalisks. Now going to finally clean up the rest of these units here. We look at the workers killed now as these units are cleaned up. 21 workers killed here for Haypro. So Haypro getting a lot of damage done with that run by attack, but now actually moving his mutas over here across the main. He's going to lose a lot of his Mutalisks, and you can see his Mutalisk number greatly decreased. A lot of these in the orange and reds made the mistake of actually flying over the units of TLO. TLO now hardening his position over here in front of his natural. We do see that Haypro trying to move around with his roaches is going to be putting them up on this high ground. TLO, I'm not sure, is aware of all these roaches up here at the main. Running a Ling down, not really sure be in Haypro's best interest to actually engage this army, and no, he's going to actually back this army off and try and save it for now. Moving out a lot of his overlords on the map. Has actually gotten drop tech. Hive tech is complete. Is morphing in his greater spire. Adrenal glands on the way as well. Does have the pathogen glands upgrade, getting his +2 armor for his units right now. I'm going to be trying to do another run by with his roaches, but actually turns around into the siege tank, going to lose a lot of those roaches essentially for free. Might try and deny this 4th expansion from going up as long as possible. All these overlords now moving over here towards this 4th base. We'll be able to pick up these roaches and get them out of there. So I think he is going to load these up. Yes, will remove them so he doesn't actually lose all these units. Looks like he might be trying to do a drop over towards the main. We'll need to be careful, though. If he runs by these stores with these overlords bunched up, he could very easily lose them all. But no, TLO going to move over there to try and get towards these overlords, but they're going to actually already be gone. Right now, a lot of Vikings out on the map as well. A couple of Lings going to move forward, try and pick off this missile turret. Wants to take back map control if he can. Muta's just hanging out right now. And here comes that Overlord. Looks like he's going to redrop these forces, bypass the hardened position of TLO. Very smart play here by Haypro. Dropping into the natural, going to get a bunch more SCV kills. One Overlord will continue forward and drop some roaches over here into the main, but it might actually get picked off. We'll be able to clean up these roaches, but they are getting a lot of damage done. Just one of the roaches gets out over there, over in the main base, and we'll clean that up, but a lot of SCVs getting taken out here by Haypro against TLO. You see all of the SCVs actually attacking the single roach. If we look at the workers kill tab again, 38 workers now killed for Haypro. Looking at the economy tab, we can see right now 60 harvesters for our Terran player, only 72 for our Zerg player, or I should say 72 for our Zerg player. But right now, Haypro doing a lot of damage with these counterattacks. Now going to be moving over here towards the fourth of TLO. TLO's forces way out of position. We'll get a lot of SCV kills. We'll kill off a lot of these mules too. So right now, Haypro being very smart with his harassment and his multitasking all over the map, but really not doing a lot of damage to the actual army of TLO. And that's really what Haypro's going to have to worry about, is when the actual push comes from TLO at some point. Needs to be prepared for that, but I think he's going to be more than prepared for that. Does have his Greater Spire, now morphing in a lot of Broodlords, throwing down a lot of Spine Crawlers and Spore Crawlers at the midsection of the map. So Haypro turtling up pretty heavily right now, sitting on 4-base economy against the Terran's 4-base economy right now. Do have another Overlord with some Lings moving over here towards the natural. Looks like he wants to drop them off. Needs to get them out before this Overlord actually dies. It looks like no, going to actually lose a couple of the Zerglings, but a few will get over here into the main of TLO and start doing some damage that will force him to bring back a couple of units to deal with these Zerglings before they do too much damage over here in his main. A couple of Hellions should easily be able to clean up the rest of these Zerglings, and now we actually have Haypro finally taking some more expansions, going to try and take both of these bottom expansions, cutting the half map into his favor really at the moment. So this is definitely not the situation TLO wants to be into, as you can see right now. Taking a lot of damage to his SCVs, actually. I'm not really sure what TLO is doing, kind of just ignoring the existence of these Lings over here in his main. Doing a lot of damage, had burrowed a couple of them. TLO really needs to clean the rest of these up. Not really sure what he's paying attention to that he's not paying up. Now finally a couple of these Hellions will move forward. Does have another command center building over here for this 4th base. Now going to finally get most of these Lings. One Ling will still survive though. Not going to scan for that Ling though, so that actually will still be there. But right now losing a lot of his economy is TLO. Look at the income tab. We can see right now still has 64 harvesters to the 70 of Haypro, so still a very good count. And TLO is going to be maxed. Now moving forward with a lot of his Vikings, trying to pick off a lot of these Corruptors. Is going to force these Corruptors back. And it looks like Haypro wants to move out, but not really 100% sure how he wants to engage TLO just yet. TLO does have a lot of Vikings moving out onto the map, a couple of Banshees as well. They immediately start doing damage. Really right now, if you think about it, TLO does kind of have air superiority. A couple of Mutas now, and these Corruptors going to move forward. Throw some good fungal growths down. Will capture a lot of these Vikings. Not sure if he's going to have enough forces to actually take these out all the way though. But yes, he will get quite a few of them. But here comes the rest of the Vikings now. Going to be finishing off the rest of these Corruptors. And TLO will retain air control for the moment. This Ling still hanging out over here towards the main base, and he actually is going to land these Vikings. Looks like he wants to try and move forward and take out some of these bases of Haypro. Haypro trying to build some emergency spine and spore crawlers. This one spine crawler will be able to do a lot of damage to these Vikings. Vikings not very good ground units at all, but right now getting a lot of drone kills here. Just decimating this drone line here at the 4th of Haypro. So Haypro right now losing a lot of his units. Does have quite a bit of stuff of minerals banked though. Building a lot more Corruptors now to try and deal with the air units of TLO. TLO will just leave a couple of the Vikings behind. Now moving some more of them forward. Going to immediately probably do some damage to this base, but no, it looks like TLO actually going to just fly by this for now. No counterattacks really at all for TLO just yet. Do see finally a couple of roaches getting dropped on a siege tank. Will take it out. So a little bit of fighting in small skirmishes all over the map, kind of reminiscent of a lot of Brood War games you used to see. There's just lots of little small skirmishes all over the map. Corruptors now moving into a position that they could take out these Vikings, but no, they're actually going to float them away. Looks like he's just going to give up this base for now. Building a couple more drones and sending them over here to this base. Do see right now Haypro building up quite a large army over here at the mid-map. Lots of Corruptors, basically mostly air units at this point. If we look at the unit counting station, we see right now 13 Vikings, now 12 as he does actually lose one of them to this Infestor. He might actually lose a couple more at that. A couple of Infestors getting built over here at this base. scanning and killing off some more drones. But talking back at the unit counting station, we see right now, do have 11 Vikings still for TLO. That is a pretty sizable count to the 8 Broodlords. We do now see Haypro moving out, has a lot of air support here, but there is 7 Thors, 11 Vikings to try and help him deal with this big push coming from Haypro. Question is, will TLO be able to hold here? Vikings getting to a very good position. No air support here to actually stop these Vikings. Getting a lot of kills, picking off a lot of these Broodlords very early on. Now we have the Infestors and the Corruptors moving forward, but the Corruptors are actually bottled up. That will help the Thors to deal with them a little bit better. Now getting a little bit better spread on them, but actually it looks like TLO going to get a lot of kills here, but is losing a lot of these stores to the Broodlords of Haypro. So I'm not really sure who this battle is going to go in favor of. Good fungal growth goes down, gets a lot of these Vikings trapped. Looks like Haypro might be able to pick these off. The question is, will Haypro be able to continue to push here? Does still have 5 Broodlords, now down to 4 Broodlords left. Is trying to pick off the remainder of all of these Corruptors if he can to take these out. No PDD or anything like that going down from the Ravens just yet. And it looks like these 4 Broodlords might be able to actually push through and do some damage. We do have Haypro reinforcing with a lot of units. Here comes TLO. Has built a lot of starports over here. Is basically making an air transition, which is kind of odd, but actually being pretty effective right now. Able to rebuild these Vikings fast enough that he's actually keeping some semblance of air in the game in order to take these out. Losing my train of thought there for a second. Do have a couple of Infestors trying to move forward. We'll be able to pick off a couple of these tanks fighting all over the map right now, guys. Do see TLO losing a sizable amount of units, not losing any of his mining bases just yet. These infested Terrans trying to do a little bit of damage over here at this base. Looks like TLO's just going to transfer those SCVs out. Now reinforcements streaming in for Haypro. Does have a lot of Corruptors here. Could morph a bunch of those into Broodlords if he wanted to. A lot of Vikings queued up here for TLO. Does have a lot of starports over here in his main. No fusion core or anything like that just yet, though, for TLO. So not making a battle cruiser transition. A lot of Ravens in his composition as well. PDD does go down. That will allow these Vikings to try and deal with some of these Corruptors. Not really sure if he's going to throw down any more. Now losing some of the Vikings. He needs to back himself up to these missile turrets. PDD doing his job, picking off a lot of the shots from these Corruptors. But the Corruptors getting a couple of shots in as well. These 2 Broodlords really doing a lot of damage right now. A couple of Roaches and Lynx now moving forward and try and pick off this tank from TLO. And now a counterattack over here towards this base of TLO will immediately be killing a lot of the SCVs. Look like they might actually be able to kill this base if it doesn't lift off soon. TLO really needs to get a handle on that right now. Looks like he's actually microing his Vikings, not aware of this base. It looks like he will lose the orbital. This orbital actually already in the air, so does lose one of the orbital commands. So right now, Haypro just barely hanging on here, and TLO basically doing the same as both these guys, just basically clashing heads and decimating their armies. 117 supply now for Haypro, 98 for TLO, and a lot of Infestors now moving out. Looks like they're going to try and get a lot of these Vikings. Will get a good funnel growth off, does trap at least 4 of the Vikings. 1 immediately goes down and will lose all 4 of these Vikings that were trapped. Actually, just 1 with just a couple of hit points left, but Haypro does manage to take that out. So right now, if you guys are looking at everything after that carnage, 127 to 101 supply. Harvesters Y, huge lead for Haypro, managing not to take too much damage from the harassment of TLO. Has retaken this bottom corner base. TLO by no means out of this yet, but down to 37 Harvesters. Losing a lot of his economy here. Does have a lot of links over here at this base still. No mining whatsoever over here. Haypro does have a couple of Roaches buried over here, preventing TLO from re-landing this. You see TLO basically just re-amassing units. A lot of siege tanks now in his composition. A lot of Vikings as well to try and deal with any more Broodlords that Haypro can produce. And Haypro actually now moving his creep spread out towards the middle of the map, removing all of these Spore and Spine Crawlers out towards the center map. Wants to try and regain control of the middle of the map, trying to retake this bottom base position. These 2 bases are really going to be pretty essential if these guys are going to continue to go half map versus half map. Really does come down to who can control these 2 center bases as to who will actually mine out of minerals first. So TLO right now taking a pretty defensive stance. Don't really think he has much of an additional choice in that matter. Transferring a lot of his SCVs over here to this base. Main is mined out, natural mined out as well. Does still have some minerals at this third. Fairly healthy still, but has lost a lot of these mineral patches to a little bit of overmuling. Has not been able to retake this base position yet, so definitely advantage to Haypro at this point in time. Do see a lot of Infestors, more Broodlords getting produced here for Haypro. It looks like he does want to move out soon, and now we actually have Hunter-Seeker missiles being researched for Liquid TLO's Raven, so maybe some Hunter Seeker Missile going to be used here. Would be the first time in a pro match. I think I've seen it used in a long time. Did recently get an upgrade in the patch, so I guess we're going to see how good that actually is now. Going very heavy on the air right now is TLO. Does have siege tanks for ground control. Is rebuilding some barracks, so it looks like he's making a little bit of a transition here. Wants to get more barracks units up. Not exactly sure which direction he's going to go with these barracks units. Does not even have stim or combat shields yet at this late hour of the game. But it looks like he does want to make a transition. Maybe wants to get up Ghosts. I don't know if he's going to be building a Ghost Academy anytime soon. A lot of times you do see Terran players make that transition into Ghosts in the very late game stages. As we now have an Overlord over here trying to drop in a couple of Infestors. Scan will pick that off pretty quickly, but he does lose a couple of more SCVs to the drop there from Haypro. Now moving forward, wants to try and pick off all the rest of these forces over here. Wants to get this 5th base re-established once again. Haypro has re-established his base down here at the bottom corner of the map. Has not utilized this base or this base at the top expansion. Neither player has really tapped those just yet, so plenty of expansion still on the map. Also very healthy base down here for TLO, so both players have some places they can go. Do see Haypro trying to move out with a couple of his Broodlords, but TLO going to poke forward with just a couple of his Vikings, try and force those Broodlords back. Looks like he's going to be doing some harassment now with these Ravens, moving over here towards his expansion. Auto turrets now going down next to the mineral lines will prevent these from being mined for at least a little while. Doing some damage there. Does have this command center about to go up. If he can secure this command center, it would be pretty huge for TLO. Economy wise, you can see 39 harvesters to 57 right now. Both players have had a little bit of a stalemate, but Haypro does have the advantage of having a lot of minerals and a decent amount of gas actually banked at this standpoint in time. Does have 7 Broodlords as well, a lot of Infestors, some Roaches for support as well, and has a pretty decent control of the middle of the map. You can see him actually spreading his creep very close to the main area now of TLO. Crazy matchup between these two guys right now. Turrets basically last forever. I just thought I'd point that out. So that will kind of reduce mining for quite some time here for Haypro, but it looks like Haypro wants to get aggressive again, trying to move forward. Here comes those couple of Ravens. Hunter Seeker missiles go off and will get a lot of kills, actually decimating the Broodlord numbers quite a bit. Now here comes in the Vikings to try and finish them off. A lot of these Broodlords are very low, very easy to pick off. Does have that Ghost Academy now, but Ghost Academy does get picked off quite quickly. Those Vikings still doing a very good job. Queen's now moving forward to actually throw down some transfusions on these Broodlords. Down to 2 Broodlords though. Not really sure. A couple of PDDs do go down. And it looks like TLO is going to actually be able to hold this time. Not really taking nearly as much damage as it did in the past. There's a couple of Broodlords though are picking off quite a few of the siege tanks here of TLO. As we do see some siege tanks going down. But now all of the Broodlords are picked off. And it looks like Haypro is going to be forced to retreat for now. TLO actually doing a pretty good amount of damage to the army of Haypro in that exchange. We do see Haypro now taking this base just outside of his main and taking this top center base as well. If he can control those points, that would be huge for him to eventually wear TLO out of any kind of a semblance of an economy, and he can basically essentially starve TLO out eventually. Haypro very smartly is going to bury a couple of links over here to try and prevent this base from actually going down. A couple of SCVs trying to attack over here while the scan is down. I'm not really sure they're going to get the job done in time. Looks like he's going to have to waste another scan if he does want to take those out. Looks like the Vikings now moving forward, and it looks like Haypro gearing up to maybe try and take out this base once again. Could do a drop. Does have the drop tech. Not sure if he's going to actually go that route or not. TLO trying to do his best to actually defend this base if he can, but really needs to try and take out these 2 center bases from Haypro. If Haypro can hold on to these additional bases long enough, he's going to have so much money banked up, it's not going to matter what TLO does. Haypro will basically have all day to throw units at TLO until he does eventually wear him out, so long as he does not have a bad engagement that would allow TLO to counter push. But TLO very heavy on the Ravens right now. Look at this, up to several Ravens. Now if we look at the unit counting station, to be exact, he has 9 Ravens on the map. Looks like he's actually doing a little bit of a push out over here towards the edge, wants to try and get at this base once again. But right now Haypro does have a couple of links over here to try and defend. Looks like he is gearing up to maybe do a push towards one of the bases of TLO. Not 100% sure what Haypro is going to be doing here or what his assault options are. I think he's really trying to decide how to engage TLO. Do have more upgrades still going down for Haypro. Is going to be getting a Neural Parasite upgrade. Cloak now getting researched for the Banshees for TLO. So both players kind of at a bit of a standoff right now. Do have this single Overlord over here. Could potentially drop some units in. Not going to be able to do it, though. It looks like he's going to be able to try and drop a couple of Lings in. It looks like the Vikings actually do pass this Overlord. So we'll get these Lings dropped over here towards this base of TLO. We'll be able to get in there and do some damage. We'll force TLO to actually defend that. We do see him now throwing down some more auto turrets at this base and be able to kill off these couple of Lings. One auto turret will instantly go down. This auto turret going down very quickly as well, but he is going to be able to disturb a little bit of the mining here, but some spine crawlers will finish up, and I think that TLO might actually be forced to lift all of this. And now we do also have a fight over here at the top of the map. TLO will be able to take out that base, but is going to lose a lot of his forces in the process. Down to 141 to 185 supply of Haypro right now. Haypro with tons of Lings buried. Looks like he might actually get this hatchery as well, trying to take this out on the map. Trying to keep track of all the action, guys, as we do see right now TLO taking some more damage over here as Haypro all over the map right now. As we do see this hatchery getting very low, but it looks like he is going to be able to defend it, so he will manage to keep this hatchery, throwing down some more spine crawlers to defend it. Do see right now TLO having a long distance mine from this orbital, actually going to be transferring his main orbital. Do have this single Overlord over here at this base as well. Has not retaken this top position yet. Does have these spine crawlers here, but they are getting pretty low at this point in time. Does have this base. Not a lot of drones over there just yet, but a lot of forces massing up over here at the center of the map here for Haypro. Look at the units tab once again. We can see 39 harvesters to 48 is going to be the count for now. Do also have 8 Broodlords already, and then a lot of air units and a decent amount of tanks here for TLO at the center of the map. TLO putting some additional command centers down towards the center of the map, has rebuilt that Ghost Academy as well, but no Ghosts really out on the map at all. Trying to throw a Hunter-Seeker missile back at TLO using his own Raven. Does not manage to actually hit anything with it, though, and it looks like he will just get a single Raven kill for his trouble. So very good move there by Haypro. As we do still have the long distance mining going on. Eventually we'll get this orbital command floated all the way over to this base. Has not gotten it there just yet, though. I do believe it's floating somewhere across. Not really sure where it's at. There it is, slowly floating across. Looks like he was going to maybe try and take this expansion, but ended up changing his mind, sending it back over towards this base eventually. A lot of Broodlords over here in the center of the map for Haypro. It looks like Haypro wants to try and move out and end this game. Looking at the unit counting station, 14 Broodlords, 7 Infestors for Haypro. TLO right now at 137 supply. Look at the units. He does still have 7 Ravens after Haypro managed to kill off a few in the engagements, and does have 16 tanks, 8 Vikings as well, now producing some Ghosts. So really, if Haypro is going to hit a good timing, he's going to definitely want to get out there before TLO can get up any amount of Ghosts, as Ghost and Snipe are just so good. But right now TLO a little bit broke on economy, has basically mined out this base. This base essentially mined out as well. This is really going to be his only mining base once he gets his orbital over there. But we do have Haypro immediately moving into the position. We'll take out a couple of these Hellions trying to move out. We do have a Cloaked Banshee now moving forward. Looks like he's going to try and take out some of these Roaches and Infestors. No detection over here for Haypro at all. Can steal this Raven. Not really sure what he'd do with it. The Hunter-Seeker missile goes out and gets a huge hit, damaging a lot of these units. Now this Banshee going to try and take out as many of these Infestors as humanly possible for TLO. Is getting a lot of damage and actually landing this orbital command a little bit prematurely. They're willing to lift that right away. Does not have enough Banshees to actually take out all these units. So we do really have these guys kind of deadlocked right now. TLO very low in unit counts. These couple of Lings now finally moving forward, doing some more damage once again. Is going to need to throw down a scan and clean up these Lings pretty quickly if he is going to actually secure this base. Right now Haypro is still in the driver's seat, banking a lot of minerals and gas, sitting right near max supply. Did bury a few of these Lings, though, and a lot of mules down here. Could unburrow these Lings. Yes, he will immediately. Going to right away with those adrenal glands go to work here, killing off almost all of these mules. Might actually get all the mules. Huge loss there for TLO to mule with all the energy on this and actually lose everything. Do you have those Hellions now moving back? Not even sure he has a scan available. Going to be able to pick off this Overlord. But meanwhile, we do have Haypro gearing up for a huge attack, just building up a ton of Broodlords, up to 15 Broodlords. Another morphing in. Has a lot of Corruptors as well. It looks like Haypro wants to try and end this soon if he can. So huge push going to be coming here for Haypro. Now moving a lot of his Spine Crawlers and the Spore Crawlers up into a more forward position. TLO does have a planetary over here in the middle of the map, has landed this orbital as well. Did finally clean up the lings over here at this base so he can continue and resume mining. Just now getting the Mobius reactor researched. So really it's going to come down to whether or not Haypro can actually end this game with this inevitable push that will be coming at some point, morphing in even more Broodlords now. So this is going to be a huge push by Haypro against TLO. Now TLO does have a lot of these Ravens. A lot of them do have the Hunter-Seeker missile available, so he could throw a lot of Hunter-Seeker missiles on these units. Do have these Roaches that were over here in this corner now being taken out once again by one of these Banshees. Haypro bearing one of them, and another drop over here at this base will force TLO to lift once again, getting a lot of SCV kills. Tank will go down shortly as well. Might actually have to land some of these Vikings over here, and if he actually did lose these Vikings to hold on to this base, that would be pretty significant. He's going to need to be careful picking off a lot of the SCVs of TLO over here at this base. TLO just cannot quite secure this base. Very good multitasking by Haypro has really been making this a headache for TLO to hold. Meanwhile, he's just been amassing a huge army in the center map. Look at all of those Broodlords. Look at the unit counting station. Once again, 16 Broodlords, but there is those 8 Ravens with those Hunter-Seeker missiles could play a huge factor when and if Haypro does decide to engage. But Haypro right now, with so much money in the bank, 4K minerals, 18K in gas, I really don't see Haypro losing this unless TLO can decisively defeat the army of Haypro at some point and then make a huge counter push. Do have some more drops on the way here for Haypro. Wants to continue harassing this base if at all possible. Not a whole lot of defense here, just 2 tanks sitting over here. Roach and Ling does unburrow. Looks like he's going to drop a lot of those units right near the tank. Should be able to quickly take out the tanks. This might force the army to deal with this once again, and TLO going to be forced to lift this off again. Just cannot ever quite secure this base. Now moving forward with a couple of his Ravens. Might be forced to land those Vikings. Don't see any movement from Haypro just yet at the center map. Looks like Haypro really unsure if he wants to actually go through with this. Looks like TLO thinking of relocating this base somewhere over in this area, but not going to be able to do it just yet. And we do see right there, moving forward, does pick off a lot of the units of Haypro, but does have a lot of them still scattered throughout the map. Tons of Broodlords over here in the middle of the map. A lot of Corruptors getting added on, as well as it looks like Haypro going to be building 8 more Corruptors. Very defensive position here for TLO, but really TLO having a hard time holding on to this base, which this base very essential here to TLO really getting any kind of unit numbers up, down to 29 harvesters right now. No mining bases anywhere on the map. Haypro retaking this top position once again, so Haypro looking in a very dominating position, throwing Spore and Spine Crawlers around everywhere on the map to keep his position just in case this army does not succeed in ending the game for Haypro. Right now I'm not really sure what TLO is going to be able to do to stay in this game. He is very broke on resources, as you can see, just in the hundreds, while Haypro in the thousands, going to be able to instantly remax even an army of this expenditure, as we do have just tons of Broodlords in the center map, tons of Corruptors for air support. Very heavy air composition here for Haypro, basically throwing away all his Roaches to free up supply and harass this base at the same time. Looks like TLO finally going to get a hold of this base once again, but I'm not sure if it's going to be in time, because TLO right now sitting at the 140 supply to the nearly maxed out Haypro. Haypro moving a lot of his infestors out towards the edge of the map now. Has not moved forward just yet. Not really sure what TLO is going to be able to do about this. 1 Roach remains. Banshees will be able to pick that off. Looks like the infestors want to try and take out some more of these air units if they can. Going to make it very difficult for TLO to try and take either one of these expansions. Looks like TLO really wants to try and get both of these expansions under wraps so he can try and max out his army. We'll get a couple of kill on a few of these infestors. Right now Haypro losing a lot of infestors. Does not have any detection. Really needs to get out of there. One of the Banshees will go down. Very good fungals there. Does actually detect both the Banshees and cleans them both up. But right now Haypro basically just freeing up supply to build more and more Broodlords. And it looks like Haypro finally decided to move out. He has decided this is the time, and now he fakes me out. Starts to move forward a little bit, but then actually backs up. A lot of Vikings over here for TLO. Does still have a decent amount of Ravens. A lot of Hunter-Seeker missiles, and one Hunter-Seeker missile goes off, hits those infestors, but then forced to back up. Do have those couple of Vikings now moving forward, but right now Haypro does have a very good defensive position. Looks like he's trying to pick off some of the air units before he actually makes his push, but now here we go. Haypro finally going to be moving out with all of these Broodlords. It's really going to come down to whether or not the Hunter-Seeker missiles can do enough damage to these Broodlords. Here comes the Ravens moving forward. There goes the Hunter-Seeker missiles. Will kill off a bunch of the Broodlords, but some of the Broodlords actually getting away from the Hunter-Seeker missiles. Now here comes all of those Vikings to try and take those out, but here comes the huge Corruptor force by Haypro. If he can take out the rest of these Ravens, he could actually hold here. Neural Parasite going down on 2 of the Ravens, and the Hunter-Seeker missile back at TLO's own forces manages to waste those down. If we look at the unit tab, still 7 Broodlords remaining. Out of all those Broodlords, just 7 are left. A lot of Corruptors forward. We do have TLO just barely trying to hang out right now, down to 103 supply. Haypro down to 158. Who will come out on top? If Haypro can break TLO here, he can finally maybe end this game. Hunter's Seeker Missile goes off once again, kills off a lot of the Corruptors down to 156 supply, but TLO's supply dwindling, and there is still a lot of Broodlords left, but the Viking count is dwindling for TLO. He does not have a lot left to try and defend from these Broodlords, and it looks like the Broodlords will manage to smash through, and there's the GG. Finally, TLO forced to tap out as he just did not have the resources to reinforce with anything. He didn't have any barracks for Marines or anything like that. So Haypro will take Game 1 in this epic 54-minute TVZ battle between teammates. My voice is shot, guys. I don't know about you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. My apologies if I was running out of voice at any point. I'm actually going to take a drink right now before I wrap up this cast. My throat is actually so sore from casting this hour-long game. But congrats to Haypro. We'll go up 1-0 in this series. I'll be bringing you guys game number 2 of this series tomorrow. Please subscribe to my YouTube. You can always follow me on Twitter at VPNerski. Nerski is how you spell Nerski, just in case you're not sure. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. Please subscribe. I'm going to be getting out of here. I'm losing my mind if you didn't notice. Casting hour-long games is always a bit taxing on your mental state. So anyways, guys, thank you for viewing. I'm out. Peace easy. Goodbye.